Log! Oh, hey. Gods and Gears. Well, since we're still waiting for an appearance of Log, let's talk about perhaps the greatest new series to come out of Alterna in a long time, in my opinion. Gods and Gears. If you were old enough in the 80s, it's a throwback to what you would recognize as comics when we were kids. It's got adventure, it's got magic, it's got exotic lands, it's got weird people doing stuff for some reason, and cars. It's a lot to go on, and we'll get through most of it for issues 1, 2, and 3. But before we get into that, I really want to talk about the colors. So this book is by, you can see, Ryan Winn, Dean Kotz, Wes Locklear. Now, Wes did the letters, Dean did the line work, and Ryan Winn wrote the story and colored it. Now, if you take a look at these colors, it kind of looks like Ryan didn't realize there was going to be art supply hoarding, and, you know, he's that guy who showed up at the store late and all they had left was like a 6-pack of highlighters. Well, he made that work. But here's the thing. Even though it's like, okay, kind of fluorescent blue, slightly lighter fluorescent blue, you got that green, you got purplish, close to magenta, lots more blue with that yellow highlighter, and you got that pink highlighter thrown in there. The thing is, this all works because it's all very sound color theory. Now, in reality, yellow clearly is not a color for sky. Maybe you could have like yellow shafts of sunbeam in the fall light during the golden hour, but this is just all yellow. Okay, here we got pink. Pink is the background. We have purple for hills. You know, these are colors that do not occur in nature, but when we're looking at this, our mind doesn't naturally go, wait, the sky's not yellow. The mind will adapt. Now, why is this important? Because using this yellow color pops out the blues and the red. Now, this face is kind of close, but because it's surrounded by this much other color, it's great. And you can use this green down here to separate your background and your foreground. So anyone who's watched this channel knows I love to complain about colors in modern comics. Part of the problem is, in modern books, everything is colored the way that it's colored. So instead of yellow, this would be blue, and then we wouldn't be able to see this guy against the blue. To some extent, you can see that here. What pops out on the cover of issue 2? Gorilla, right? Opposite colors, standing out. You got this guy, a little bit different separation. You've got a little bit of the pinks and yellows here, matched with the pinks here. So he stands out. He's got this, not sure if that's a log, I think it's a log behind him. You know, and this guy is definitely further back. He's receding into the background. So that's what a lot of people are missing. I see a lot of modern comics, and you have, but it would be like all this. Everybody would be colored almost the same as the background. It looks horrible. Now I want to go back and compare the colors that we see here. Let's take some looks. All right, the ground is yellow. Is the ground yellow? Now here we have the sky as blue, but this is San Francisco. And look, it's yellow. The Golden Gate Bridge is actually golden instead of red. And this separates middle ground from there. And then we have the color for Rogue. This is X-Men, I don't know, around 220. I'm not sure which one it is offhand. But that's the important thing, is that you're clearly able to separate the three. All right, another page over. Let's check it out. So they're in this building. Do you think that anybody made it that yellow color? That's like the color of your spare bedroom. Nobody would make a bar that color. But we've got blues, pops them out. We've got these golden guys here again. So because the color is a lot more saturated, it pops it out from this background. And that's exactly the same kind of techniques that we see in Gods and Gears. One reason why this book is so great is because the art is friggin' fantastic. Now, this may or may not be your style of pencils, and it may or may not be your style of colors. That's okay, but you can't fault it for being poorly done. This is a very well put together comic art-wise. All right, so let's get a little bit into the story. So we start off with a race about 1910 in Carbon City. And we got some pretty exciting and interesting shots here. Oh, look, not as saturated, more saturated. Similar color, but less saturated, so it sticks out. What do we got here? Blues, so it'll pop out more. All right, so we've got the race. This kid, Jimmy, he was racing. They're making a jump, and some kind of magic portal opens, and he is transported to Mycelia. Somewhere in South America. I'm just going to go ahead and say it's Brazil, because if there's some jungle disease, I wouldn't be surprised if it came from Brazil. But, so he lands there, and quickly he meets our other boy protagonist, who is Eli. And Eli is the grandson of a famous magician guy that discovered Mycelia. So quickly, we come to find that they are being chased by gorillas. Talking gorillas, who also wear clothes. So the thing about Gods and Gears, you need to sort of get past is, at least in the beginning, it's very much a thing. You just have to accept things that are happening. All right, magic portal. Okay, cool. Sorry for the interruptions, everyone. I know the video keeps stopping, but despite the fact that we are in a stay-at-home situation, people are quarantined. For some reason, people who cut the lawn and use leaf blowers are considered an essential service here in Southern California. All right, but at any rate, so Jimmy, Eli, and to start off, they look like they're about the same age. But going back to coloring, I want to point out one other trick that Ryan's using here. So if you look, you got the apes, gorillas, whatever the politically correct term is. They are all sorts of different colors, and the two main characters are both blue, right? Like no skin, the backpack isn't red. Why is that? Because we want the focus to be over here on these guys. So this is also another trick that Glennis Oliver used in her X-Men books, in her all the Marvel books that she did. Whatever characters were the most important for the panel, they would be in their normal colors, and everybody else would be kind of a lightish or maybe a darker color like this. So there you go. Different ways to use colors. But at any rate, as I believe I was getting to before I was so rudely interrupted, one thing I want to mention about these Gods and Gears books. Now, I said that they look like a throwback from the 80s, and that's absolutely true. One of the great things about them is there's no crazy nonsense going on. It's all an adventure story. This is good for all ages. I'm a dude in his 40s, and I still find this stuff entertaining, but I would have no problem giving this to like a 10-year-old. If they can read, they will be able to enjoy it. If they can't read, they'll probably still enjoy it, because it's just a lot of fun. And I would definitely put this, I mean, look at how great that cover is. I would put this against anything that Marvel and DC is putting out. And these characters, they have a lot more developed than anything that Snowflake and Safe Space have. This is what your kids should be reading. Give these away for gifts. Hopefully Alterna Winn will be back and they'll get them. God, that Gardner. With Gods and Gears, you just sort of have to go with the flow for a while. Talking gorillas? Hey, why not? We'll see in a minute. Eli gives Jimmy some leaves that make him jump around through trees like a monkey. Why not? Giant mushrooms? Hey, sure. But once you get through the first couple of issues, stuff really starts to come together and you start to say, oh, that all kind of makes sense now. In a lot of ways, this is what people would call an everything in the kitchen sink kind of book. Virtually every genre. Heroic action, magic, cars, you got it all. Okay, so we get through issue 1. One of the few things I want to criticize a tad is we have the boys, we have the gorillas, nowhere to run. Okay, and then we go a little bit of an aside and give you a little bit of the greater story, what's going on. This is apparently the evil goddess, and we come to find out in other issues that there is a war between good and evil going on, and I might commit an act of evil and strangle that man who's using the leaf blower. All right, at any rate, we've got Gantar, 100,000 years ago. Not entirely sure where Gantar is. Not sure if it's on Earth or what, but we see the battle. We have people being transformed into Warillas. Cool name. And they are driving chariots, which look suspiciously like the race cars from issue 1. All right, and then we go along. They kind of win. They trap the evil lady in this pyramid, and everything seems kind of good. All right, and then they end up in Mycelia and blah, blah, blah. So then we end up here. We got Jimmy running around again. Interesting 9-panel pages. But where's the gorillas? Well, we'll get to that in a bit. I don't know why Ryan decided to throw it for later. It kind of ruins the suspense a bit, but it ends up the gorillas, they're all Eli's family. Okay, here we get to see the balloons. The balloons are how people are going to travel through these gates and travel throughout the land of Mycelia. So we can see the family here. You can see that they're at Oscar Molina's grave. That's Eli's grandfather. And we start to find out that Jimmy has a very tragic past. He lost his family. He lost his eye doing something related to them. We'll skip over that for a bit. And then we get to find out who Eli's mom is. So Valencia, she is one of the protectors of the borders of Mycelia. So we've got a pretty good cast of characters going on. Find out more with the evil lady. Let's just go on. And the boys, they decide they're going to take off on, that's Eli's grandfather's balloon. To lead us into issue 3. So a lot of very cool stuff going on. Now in issue 3, we get to see a lot more of the world building. But we find out that there is a barrier protecting things. The boys are off on an adventure. Almost a little Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom kind of stuff going on. They meet guardians of different areas. So this kind of the Marauder Boys, kind of a Lost Boys type thing. Very interesting to delve into the psyche of Ryan Winn. Right, they go to an old temple, got to talk to dead people, tell them some stories. And then the evil lady has sent people in what almost looks like a motorized bobsled to go hunt the boys. But I don't want to give everything away. It's very cool. And in the end, we see a growing Jimmy who's now probably man-sized for the events of the future. And as King Markham sees it, your time is now. Boom. God, King Markham, benevolent ruler of the earth for over 100 millennia. Who were you? So we have Jimmy going on a vision quest. All right. There was no log in any of these books, but it's okay. This is a good reprieve. I don't know. I don't know if I could take it. It's what can you do? You need your log fit. What? Oh, log. Where have you been?